I just want to let you guys know that this podcast is interfering with my game. Um, and I don't mean like a PlayStation game. I mean like, how straight people say it.
Why?
So I'm on Grinder, right? Whatever, it's fine. And this guy messages me and he's just like, hey, because my whole thing is all about horror movies, whatever. And he's like talking about horror movies and stuff. I'm like, cool. And I'm just answering conversation that he's leading. And, I'm a pretty fit, muscular, handsome. I've come to accept that I'm fucking hot and it's fine. And somehow he found out I was on podcast and he was watching some of the clips and randomly talking about horror movies. He's like, I just want to let you know that you're too gay for me. The gay accent isn't really something that I'm attracted to. I was like, okay,
What?
we're just talking about horror movies. He's like, yeah, but like on, typically with these apps, there's like a connotation that eventually there's gonna be like a hookup, and I just want to let you know that like, it's probably not. And I was like, okay.
Wait,
I
so
told him I was like, we were just talking about movies, but thanks for letting me know where I stand. Yes, I apologize in advance. I've been up since 2 in the morning.
Oh God.
I have many workout buddies. I had to tell one of my workout buddies I'm not doing early morning workouts anymore because when we're waking up at 5 to be at the gym by 5:30, my brain, and it's not even exciting. My brain's like, what are you going to do at the gym tomorrow? Oh, what's on the plan? Are you sure you didn't do that last week? And I'm like, oh my God, my brain will not shut off. And it only happens when I have to go to the gym first thing in the morning. So I'm like, fuck it. We're doing it at 11 a.m. or noon.
Oh. Oh, so you're not doing mornings anymore with me. I'm sad.
No.
Mikey's like, I'm not.
Mm-mm. If I happen to sleep and wake up naturally at 5, sure. But my alarm being set at 5 is a recipe for my brain to tell myself, let's wake up at 2. Let's tell ourselves, you know what's going to make me tired again? Let's read a book about a bog witch in a water park killing children. That didn't work. So let's check Facebook. And then now I'm awake. And now I'm shopping on Amazon for things I don't need.
No.
Well, I wake up every day, probably at 2 or 3 a.m., but I was reading that that's a sign of high cortisol. So maybe you just have high cortisol, Mikey.
That's cortisol. Is that something with your heart?
Cortisol is like what your body like naturally makes. I mean, like women, like that's like that new thing now where you have cortisol face because you can't have too much of it because like fucks with you. So like they're like you don't want cortisol face, so you need to take better care of yourself. And like most
Botox.
no, okay, let's do a little science lesson. I'm gonna use our good friend Google.
Yeah. That's before Lance talks about people having weight problems again, like last episode.
Exactly. And apparently I
No,
have a weight problem,
I
everyone,
didn't say
according to
any of these
Lance.
movies. No, I did not
Okay.
say it.
So, cortisol is a hormone that helps regulate blood sugar, blood pressure, and the body's inflammatory response. It's also known as the stress hormone because it's released when you're stressed. So, women usually get more of that. I mean, I believe it because I just had to help Lance
Women
troubleshoot
associated with
something in my
Lance
my
typically have
cord.
high levels of cortisol.
My,
Actually, that
my
sounds familiar now that
cortisol.
I think about it. I feel like pregnant women have that. But I don't know, I could be wrong. But I now that you mention it, I know that like when you have to take medicine and you have high blood pressure, it's called like cortisol or something, but whatever.
Well, it regulates how the body uses glucose for energy and also helps control the sleep-wake cycle. So the problem
Um,
is, especially if you drink alcohol or because I followed this one chick who's a dietary person and she always talks about it and she says that like if you already have a lot of cortisol at night, like your body produces its own cortisol overnight and that's what helps you wake up in the morning. So this is why most women will wake up around 3 a.m. because their cortisol levels are already really high when they go to sleep and then they have more cortisol producing overnight especially after you've drank which is why most people who drink, like, even if you're like, you drink a lot and you're like sleep really hard, you still feel like shit in the morning because your body's not really asleep. You have too much cortisol. Cortisol face.
Well, speaking of 3 o'clock in the morning and women waking up because of cortisol, that's also called the witching hour. Is it coincidence? I think not. Um, but to bring it back together, horror movies trigger the release of cortisol, a stress hormone that prepares the body for fight or flight responses. The response can lead to a sense of relief or satisfaction after the movie ends.
Hmm.
Unless it's Eden Lake, Martyrs, Inside. There's a couple others that do
Oh
not
my
give you
God.
that sense of relief.
No, absolutely not. I mean, Eden Lake is, ugh. And I was reading something that the creator of Eden Lake is doing another movie, and I forget what it is. I think it's a reboot of something, and I'm like,
Here he did it.
ah,
He's the one that did
what do you do?
See No Evil. No,
See,
Speak No Evil.
oh, Speak No Evil. Oh, of course he did a movie like that because it has a fucking. Well, I didn't watch the American version, so I don't know.
Yeah. No, he surprisingly he's what his was American soft. We have cortisol relief after the movie's over. But you know what? Speaking of Eating Lake, I'm really glad that the main actress is like so mainstream now because she's in that really big show that all the straight guys like about the country stuff.
Oh, she's Beth.
Yeah.
Beth.
So I will not be watching
Callisto?
that. Yeah, but I'm glad that she's getting what's due because she was great. And
Well,
then the guy
my
was famous too. What's the guy who's the guy? The Marvel
uh,
guy, isn't it?
Kevin Costner's in it.
No, no, in Eden Lake.
Oh, no, that's Michael Fassbender.
Yeah, never mind. He's
Hmm.
not a Marvel guy.
No, he's not Marvel. He's in Prometheus.
Hmm.
What's his name? He's David.
Yeah, I get him
Okay.
confused with the guy who plays Loki. Whatever. They're all
Oh,
European.
I love Tom
He played Magneto,
Hiddleston.
though, didn't he?
Did he?
What? I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
he
say
was.
that again.
I think he was Magneto in First Class. If
Oh
that's what
yeah,
you're
he's
talking about.
Magneto. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, what happened here? I
At
mean,
this
Stop.
technically,
point, at
so
this point, actors of an A minus and higher have all been something in Marvel. So it's safe to say
yeah. I
That's
mean,
true.
technically, for this, it would be Fox before
it's Marvel.
Marvel bottom up. So technically, still Marvel, but not Marvel as we know it.
Well, no, I think X-Men First Class by that time was Marvel and
Oh,
not Fox
you're
by
gonna get
First Class.
Lance all in a tizzy.
Don't you
Yeah,
shake your head. I'm looking right now.
Oh,
really, actually.
sorry, I'm being too gay right now,
Okay, we all
everybody.
know I can't, like, I could care less about Marvel, but I fucking love X-Men. So don't you come for me when it comes to X-Men.
Yes, you're
Hmm.
gonna argue with the nerdiest one out of all of us on the podcast.
Is
All right.
X-Men First Class one more time? And I'm hosting this show and I feel like you guys are trying to take it over, not. Um,
Typical
X-Men
Lance
First
and the
Class,
straight
a
people.
Fox or Marvel film? Do.
Hey, who sent me the thing that when
It's
somebody
considered a Marvel movie. Oh, it was okay. So Lance, you were correct. It was originally released by Fox, which doesn't matter
oh,
because now Disney owns Fox, and they also own
But that's
Marvel. So
also a
there you
dumb.
go.
It's a dumb argument because that's like saying right now Spider-Man is Fox and not Marvel. Like, would you dare say that, Lance?
it's Sony.
Well, technically,
Well, yeah,
Spider-Man.
because if you go to Universal, for example, because Universal has the rights to whatever specific Marvel they're allowed to show, right? Because they have the Marvel area
Mhm.
at IOA. And when X-Men came out, they didn't have anything from the films because back then it was a Fox film and this is Universal Studios. So that's why you can't see my Hugh Jackman. But anytime I run into my Wolverine at Universal, I make sure I get a photo with him.
Gross. Look,
Oh,
doesn't
he's
this look
so
like a
hot.
hairy vagina?
Oh my God, what are you doing with your beard? You're another one. Mikey, shave your beard. Lance, put yours back. I don't know what's happening.
I'm gonna shave when I hit my first weight goal, and then I'm gonna regret it.
I mean, you're
Uh,
just a little trim.
No, I'm only
I like the fact that Mikey's going bohemian on this. You know,
bohemian.
bohemian, getting that beard going crazy to do what it do.
I don't think that's bohemian, but okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
Mikey, guess what?
What?
You should come to Orlando at the end of April
Oh, here
I
it
might
comes.
already be there. Why?
because, well, I guess we can go. You can go see Lance's band, but
The good one or the bad one?
The bad ones.
See, this is what I was telling you. You know, like, I go, I'd rather not neither one of you be there because
No,
I
we're
know how
both gonna
much you guys
go.
know. No, you both are like gonna sit there in some corner and do one of these things.
Yeah. Why would we be doing that, Lance?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm
I
just
don't
saying.
either. So, anyways,
Hmm. But also, we could sign up for Atomic Horror's Monster Mart and do that weekend as well. So just something to think about.
Plus that the Texas restaurant that I sent you both today. That'd be kind of
Hmm.
fun too. Do something a little different. Of
Well,
course,
if
I'd
they
be
have
staying
drinks, I'll
close to
go.
those. See, there I knew where
no,
it was going.
she's gonna go either way because if there's no drinks and we go without her,
I
Well,
know.
yes, you can.
Hell have no fury.
yeah.
Speaking of Hell Hath No Fury, I mean, I guess you can call me a satanic Hispanic. Well, considering the fact that all of us are satanic Hispanics here on Slashers Podcast, so
Watch
yay.
your tongue. I'm
We're
Catholic.
oh well.
We're
Actually, you
the
know
Mm,
what?
best Italians.
I'm as satanic as these entries were.
Mm.
okay, so all right. First of
I
all,
know where Mikey's going. That's
oh
great.
my God. All right. Well, let me pull my notes up. So, yes, today's film in question. So, we decided this month will be our Mexican March, our
I don't know
March
why I
of
did that.
Mexico. Why did you,
I don't know.
what is that for?
I don't.
Are
I
you,
thought it was my Mexican battle cry, but I don't. I think it just came out offensive.
yes,
Um,
it did.
it's
Well,
okay. I'm Mexican.
keep it. Yes, Mikey's Mexican, and you're also editing this episode. So, you
Oh,
can
it's
sound
staying.
however you want. Okay. Oh my
Um,
God.
It'd be this short. Great. It's out of nowhere. I was like, what the fuck?
the shorts are meant for me to make you look bad, not me.
Like, why does he sound like a turkey? Okay.
We're not doing Thanksgivings.
So, but anyways, so it's March of Mexico this month. So we thought not only is it Women's Month, and March begins with M, but we thought that we would highlight Gigi Saul Guerrero, who
Hmm.
is Mexican, and she's also female, and she's one of our favorite up and coming uh, directors, horror directors specifically. And if you don't know who she is, she does a lot of commentary lately on a lot of the Shudder documentaries, like Horror's Greatest and 101 Greatest Movie or Horror Movie Moments on Shudder, as well as I believe she does a lot of interviews too on the 19, what is it, In Search of Darkness documentary. So, I mean, she's beautiful, but that's
Hmm.
beside the point. She directs some like pretty decent like really good horror films in my opinion. And she does a segment in Satanic Hispanics, which is helmed by all Hispanic directors. And so not just Mexican, but we also have Argentinian, we have let me look here. Where's everybody from? Uh Mexico, Argentina, Cuba. So, and also one of my favorite segments in the Satanic Hispanics, besides Gigi's, is also by Damien Rugna, who also wrote and directed When Evil Lurks. So, if you remember him,
Hmm.
if you remember that film, the titular
Which means
dog.
he also did Terrified, which is so good. Which
Mm.
means he's the Argentinian of the group.
Yes, he's the Argentinian. But since
Um,
Gigi is Mexico and so is Mikey, here we are.
Yay!
Yeah,
Um,
no
real
Puerto Ricans.
quick, yeah, I'm welcoming her in. So on behalf of Mexico and not the pile of trash floating around in the Gulf of America or wherever it is, but
We're not in
just
the Gulf of Mexico. Thank you very much. We are in the
Excuse
Caribbean.
me.
um,
And
but just to start the month off, I would like to say because there's always confusion, and I'm still a little confused. I had to look it up again. Hispanic, so everybody knows, is relating to Spain or Spanish-speaking countries, especially those of Latin America. So essentially, it's a country that was overtaken by Spain. Because Hispanic is not the same as Latin, it's not the same as Mexican,
mm,
but those things can be Hispanic.
mhm. So
Mm.
what we're saying is that not all Latinos are Hispanic, but all Hispanic are Latinos, or is it the other way around?
I think it's the other way around.
Okay.
I believe Hispanic is the larger. Because Latino is Latin pertaining to Latin America,
Yeah.
whereas Hispanic is directly related to Spain coming over and
Okay, so not all Latinos are Hispanic.
yeah.
Oh, well, actually,
No, you're
no,
right.
because yeah, well, whatever.
We're not
Anyway,
smart. We're just gonna
n-
cause more YouTube controversies. Let's
we
just
will.
I just was sitting here going, uh-huh.
yeah, because we know you're not gonna do anything else in this conversation.
Oh, I'm not gonna say anything to give you two firepower. No way.
Listen. Okay, but you know what? Gigi is great. I love her to death. And I'm really glad that we're doing this month because I think it's really important that we celebrate our Latin American people, especially considering what's going on in the country right now and you
Hmm.
know how a lot of them are slowly going away. So this is for you guys, and hopefully, you know, we can shed light to some people that, you know, who are here and living the American dream as they rightfully should be and doing everything that they can. I feel like Gigi is doing a great job of it. So she actually emigrated to Canada before she moved here. So
Smart move.
yeah.
I
So
think a
she's
lot of immigrants
technically
end up doing that.
Canadian too.
Yeah.
Isn't that kind of what they do most of the time? Usually, when it's a kind of like a kind of a hostile situation. I mean, did she come over there first because of a hostile situation in Mexico, or
No, it's a lot easier to get a visa into Canada. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of people, so I mean, you know, working in immigration, I don't know if people really realize that. I mean, this is how you know this is more of a racial issue than anything because there are just as many people who come in from Canada with fraudulent passports. So you can't just say that everyone's coming in from South America because a lot of people are sneaking in through Canada and nobody seems to care because, you
Hmm.
know,
look out, Canada.
yeah.
The northern borders where the white people sneak in. I just wanted to say, do you remember when we first saw the trailer for this? When I was like, I can't wait to watch that because we were
Hmm.
together.
Yes.
We were at Doug's premiere of I think it was Trash Juice. I don't know why they were showing like I don't know, but they showed this trailer before. No, it was either Trash Juice or it was when we went again to see another one of his films, the zombie. It was a Zombie Rage. And we're in the theater and they played this, and I was like, that looks really good.
Yeah, I had been following it for a while actually, and I've been wanting to see it. And it was still sitting in my list when I went on to Shutter the other day to watch it. And I'm like, why have I not watched this yet? But then I saw the runtime. I was like, I was probably kept seeing the runtime. I'm like, I have to save this for another time because I don't have 2 hours. And I actually watched it in two segments. I watched 1 hour, which was perfect because if you watch it up to an hour, I think it gets you through El Vampiro, and then after that one, you could finish the other two segments and then the wraparound story in the next hour. So if you want to split it up, I highly recommend that you do if you don't have 2 hours to sit through the whole film. But yeah, and then I started Namalis the next day, so I thought that was perfect because then I could just start off with you know her because she directed that one with her segment and be able to kind of you know focus on that going into the next day. So that was what I did. I don't know how you guys watched it, but anyways, Mikey, when did you see it?
I thought the day when we were supposed to record originally,
Mm.
I saw it then, but when we were like, oh, we're not going to do it today, I was because I had like one more segment to do. So I saw like the whole thing except for one segment, and then I finished that one segment earlier today.
Well, I guess it worked out that we were unable to record yesterday.
I mean, I could have
well,
finished it.
I watched the whole thing in one setting, so it wasn't bad. And I like the fact that it was kind of basically just kind of very Tales of the Crypt kind of.
It's a horror anthology. And so the fact that it's helmed by all Hispanic people. So a little bit of trivia for you all. So Mike Mendez came up with the idea for Satanic Hispanics. If you know him from the movie Big Ass Spider, the convent. I don't know why I can't spell. I said the convent. What the fuck was I talking about? The convent, Grave Dancers. I love Grave Dancers with Dominic Purcell. Do you remember that one? Big Ass Spider, and a segment from Tales of Halloween. And Tales of Halloween is another really strong, beautiful horror anthology, in my opinion. So
Oh yeah, it's a good one.
it's a really good one. And then Alejandro Brugues. I cannot say these like South American last names. It's Brugues.
Just have
And
Lance try.
and he did one of the dead. And mind you, so Lance and I are Puerto Rican, everybody. So,
Sorry.
we apologize
They're all I
in
could find.
advance. What did Joe called me something one time, and I was like, "What the fuck are you?" I forget what he got. I'm gonna have to ask him so we can repeat. It's probably not something we should say
Yeah. Like, let's not
on the
get him
podcast.
canceled.
Now
I
that
think
well,
Joe's
he has,
Mexican though, I think, right?
yeah, he's Mexican,
Yeah.
but they're on the mainland and we're on an island. But so he had a name. He has a name for it, and I'm sure it's pretty obvious, and I can't remember what it is. But I'm like, whatever, fuck you.
I know what some of my Spanish friends call us, and it's definitely a devil and the island put together in certain ways. So
Okay, well, we were not going to
I
say
mean,
it on air.
devils. We can say it about ourselves. I mean,
It's okay. But anyway,
I don't see color.
so yeah, Mike Menes came up with the idea, and he thought that since he's from Los Angeles, Alejandro and Ed Sanchez are from Cuba. By the way, Ed Sanchez wrote, I think well, he produced and I think he wrote Blair Witch Project, so
Mm.
he's a pretty big deal. And Gigi Saul Guerrero is from Mexico, Damien Rugna is from Argentina. So he said it felt like it would be cool if we could tell stories about our own cultures and explore our heritage by recounting myths and legends from all over Latin America. And that was an article in Fangoria that they did an interview with him. So I thought that was interesting. And I'm like, this is great. Now, if we could get a Puerto Rican director, so we can get some of our lore in there. But I think a lot of the lore kind of crosses over because we also have the chupacabra. And I know I sound like such a white girl. Oh my God. And then we were at that dog fair and Braga saw this this I don't even know. It was like this billowing sheet thing that somebody was trying to sell and pass off. And he's like, oh my God, it's La Llorona.
Oh my God.
I'm like, yeah, it is. So like, oh my God. Anyway,
Well, I'd also just want to give a special shout out to the creators of this because there is still machismo in Hispanic culture, and to bring in Gigi Saul Guerrero is like huge. Like,
mhm.
first of all, there's not that many female directors, so it's kind of easy just to be like, oh, we couldn't find one. But like, kudos to them for bringing her on because, we
Yeah.
we we seem to have been progressing towards including women and everything, unlike our uh, local counterparts.
Well, and that's my thing. It's like, having her on this, we don't see a lot of female horror directors, and when we do, they're very few and far between, right? Or they do other projects, but I feel like she focuses solely on horror, which I think is amazing. And she does do cameos. She did a cameo. In fact, I think all of them kind of show up at the beginning as the victims of the wraparound story. So at the beginning of the film, when they raid the house and they find all the dead people, she's in there as one of the dead people.
Oh,
Um, and I think one of them, I forget which one, because I looked up all about all of them and what they look like. And I think it's Alejandro who's in the chair with the, which I thought was so funny with the chain. And the cops keep shooting the dead body because they think
oh,
he's he's picking his arm up to shoot him, but he's dead. So,
which one was hers, by the way? I didn't actually even know.
Nawales. So obviously the one that is very Mexican, right? Like, so I actually looked up the lore for Nawales, and it's like a shape shifting. So remember the witch who turns into the dog
Mm.
yeah.
and that. So I mean that one was solely in Spanish, I think. I think the only English you hear in that one is when he gets the phone call from the American.
It's like an FBI agent thing or whatever that was.
Yeah. And so that one was pretty gnarly. I would say that was the most bloody and the goriest of all the segments.
Ah,
I mean, I know the
and
end is
more
pretty
blood.
gory. The end is pretty gory
Now
too.
the wraparound story ends in a good way, but
Yeah.
hers is probably it gave me kind of like Green Inferno vibes, but not because it's not cannibal tribes,
Mm.
Mm,
but it was just the setting, and hers seemed like the most polished because I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Hard Eyes, The Monkey. What else did I just watch? Oh no, Companion didn't really do it. But I'm kind of like not really vibing with the horror comedies. I'm like, just pick one, please. And I know a
Mm.
lot of these, and she does it too, like in Bingo Hell, which I've seen. It's very balanced of comedy and horror. But I'm like, when you're being so overtly comedic and you're trying to be horror, I'm like, I have enough of that. Can we just be serious, please? Or like sprinkle in some laughs. And hers was probably the most serious one. Um,
Hmm.
so I appreciated that as an intellectual.
Hmm.
Mm.
So if you haven't seen it, please go ahead and stream it on Shudder if you have Shudder, and I'm sure you do. Again, Shudder does not pay me to, support them.
They actually were going to ban her when she finds out how many people she's sharing her account with. But
I know, I've got to. Anyway,
Nobody pays attention.
every, everybody on every podcast is using it. But we have The Traveler in San La Muerte, which is the wraparound story. And so I'm going to count that as one story,
mhm.
even though technically it has two titles. And then we have Tambien Lo Vi, which is that. So that one is directed by Damien Rugna, who also did When Evil Lurks, and it has the same actor, Solomon or Damian Solomon, who's also the brother in When Evil Lurks. So if you recognize him, that's where he's from. The second segment is by Eduardo Sanchez, who did Blair Witch, and he did El Vampiro.
Hmm.
The third one, Nahuales, is Gigi Saul Guerrero, and then we have finally the Hammer of Zanzibar, which is by Alejandro Brugues, and he did One of the Dead, if we didn't say that earlier, and I feel like Mikey is correct, except for Tabian Lovi. I don't I thought that one was pretty serious too, with the brother and the
Mhm.
his quirkiness, and that one was scary. I
No.
feel like,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, that one I think was the scariest in my
Yeah.
opinion.
If you like that, everybody watch Terrified because it's kind of like an expanded version, kind of similar. But yeah.
Hmm. So in total, we only have one, two, three, four, five stories, which I think is a really good amount of stories to have in an anthology, because even sometimes, like, I love Tales of Halloween, but some of them I kind of ignore, which I'm not going to get into the ones that I don't like. I'll start doing something and I'm listening, because there's, with Tales of Halloween, I think where it lacks is that there's so many different stories in it. Like, I think there's eight or nine of them, right?
There's a bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because some of them
So
are long, some of them aren't very long.
yeah, so it's kind of hard to remember all of them, or like which one is, some of them could have been longer. I think five. I think having a wraparound story and four good stories is enough, because I don't feel like any of them were too long. I didn't get bored with any of them. So
Mm-mm.
maybe maybe you guys feel differently about them. But sometimes, like, for in Creepshow, for example, not to say that the fluffy one is the worst one, because it's a good one, but it's also super long compared to the other story. But I feel like it went quickly. Like, I don't feel like any of them dragged. I feel like they all had their shining moments. Mikey, I understand your issue with the comedy. Especially El Vampiro, I think had the most, which
Yeah.
incidentally is, I think, Lance's favorite. So
I'm
I
not
liked it just
surprised.
because no. I mean, it was well because the last one kind of seemed more like Army of Darkness, you know what I mean, kind of thing. I thought it was great that the hammer is basically this demon's dick.
Well, that's not El Vampiro.
No, I know. I'm saying the last one was like,
Yeah. And see,
it's
those are my two least favorite.
yeah. But I mean, and then, the only thing I thought about that one was I think it was the guy that was in there that technically I guess was the main person was the same guy from the Alex Winter movie that came out not that long ago. I
yeah,
forget it.
he's in a
He's from
shit ton of
somewhere.
movies right now, that guy.
Yeah.
Um,
Is he Hispanic or because I assume that they pretty much just only got Hispanic.
yeah, he
No,
is.
He looks white.
I mean, but they also like the detectives. The main guy is from Eight-Legged
Right,
Freaks,
right.
and then the detective is a black woman. Because I also was like, I like that they included like everybody. It's not just. I mean, the main stories revolve around Mexican characters and folklore,
Right.
but they sprinkle everybody in here.
Hmm.
A couple white people they can kill off. Like,
Yeah.
it's
So,
your turn.
No,
Well, and it's funny because the so Jonah Ray Rodriguez is actually the guy who plays Malcolm in The Hammer of Zanzibar, and so I assume he's Hispanic. But yeah, he's been in a shit ton of movies right now, horror movies, like independent horror films.
Yeah.
So, and he plays a quirky little nerdy ass guy.
I
Um,
think that was my least favorite. And if we're gonna, I don't want to skip ahead if we're gonna go through them in order, but if we're not, I'll just tell you why.
well, let's just yeah, we can why don't we just start with that so Mikey can talk about what he wants to say. What spoilers, everybody, if you haven't seen it yet. So we're gonna get
Honestly, this
so
isn't meant to sound like a read, but there's nothing really we can spoil because it's all just kind of like just happens. There's no like unraveling of a story or like a surprise ending. It's just oh. But I guess maybe a spoiler, everybody. So the demon dick thing, this one was my least favorite, and it was because first of all, whatever that girl was, looked like some Outer Limits UFO lizard person. I was like, this is not a demon. I should know. I've read the Bible. Um, and so I was like, whatever, that's fine. So then they go and they look for this hammer of Thor or whatever. And then the guy starts explaining about calling this demon. And
Or at all.
that started funny because he's like being very homoerotic with how he's explaining it about he's coming inside of me and deeper and but then like it wouldn't stop. And the more it kept going, the more the joke was obvious. And I was like, yeah, I get it. Now I get you're
Okay.
trying to pretend this is like a gay sex thing. You don't have to like keep adding more to it. And then like it just kept going. And then you see the hammer of whatever and it's a dick. And I was like I'm not a snowflake, everybody. I'm the one that usually offends people. But it kept going so much that I was like, this is getting borderline offensive. Like talking about a rainbow explosion happening inside my body.
I mean, it was definitely cringy at one point. Like you're like, oh, okay, we get it. Like
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. Like it would have been cool if they had stopped, but then it's like kind of like maybe that's what he was trying to do, or they were trying to do was like how far can we push people's buttons to see how cringy we can make it. I don't know. I mean, I have no idea. And then, again, this could be the Hispanic kind of machismo kind of thing coming out.
Well, it's interesting you say that, Mikey, because I actually I was trying to find the budget of the film and I couldn't. And I ran across somebody's Reddit review and they were saying the same thing. So, but as I was reading the guy's review, it occurred to me that he sounded very young.
Um,
Not that young people don't know
it
anything,
was
but
me. I'm just kidding. It was my
no,
review.
he said he was Puerto Rican and Cuban, so it's
Oh,
definitely not you. And I just feel like a lot of what he was saying was like naive in a way because I feel like when you're a certain age, you assert your opinion without knowing anything, right?
mhm.
Like a lot of young people do that because they feel like they're not being heard. So they'll just assert an opinion that it's not fully informed either.
Yeah. Yeah. And
So
I don't think it was like bad intentions. It was just starting to become bad taste,
mhm.
especially when we're Hispanic film trying to represent a minority culture. Like I agree it started off funny. The joke started off funny. But it just kept going and I was like, okay, I get it. I get it. Gay
Well,
stuff's weird. Okay, I get it.
so I have a confession to make though about
You were
that.
dying.
No, I wasn't even listening to him because I was so caught up in the fact that we were in that
Oh,
store that I was sending you guys pictures, and then I kept looking it up to make sure that I was correct. So when
yeah.
all of that was happening, the only thing I heard was when he slapped the dick on the table, and I'm like, oh. So I don't even remember any of that. I'm sure I was listening, but it like went right over my head because I was just more concerned about the location. So if you've ever been to the Mystic Museum in Burbank, that's where they filmed it. So yay.
Yep. We were on site
We
a couple
were.
years ago.
I bought a mood ring at that counter, not a dick, but
Yeah.
and I got a sticker. Anyway, so the Hammer of Zanzibar. Other than that, though, Lance, what did you think of it?
The Hammer? No, I mean it kind of hit all the little tropes. The funny part about it is the mask for the demon. I almost look like they repurposed the head mask from Dust Till Dawn for
That's yeah, for the vampire, for Selma Hayek's
yeah,
vampire.
it literally kind of looked like that was what they they like repurposed that whole mask. That was kind of like I was like, yeah, is it really a demon or is it a vampire now? Or I had no idea. I mean, it's cool because I mean, it'd be rad if that was like a homage to Dust Till Dawn and obviously another Hispanic director, which would have been cool
That's
if that was
true.
the correlation.
Yeah.
But I don't know. You know what I mean? Because it definitely had that like Dust Till Dawn / Army of Darkness kind of like motif of about the whole segment movie wise. So I was like, oh okay. And then I thought it was kind of weird that I was thinking, oh maybe that guy is not just white, maybe he's a Hispanic white because he is the kind of main person out of all the other Hispanics that died.
Hispanic
So
white.
yeah, exactly. So I mean, like, I was like, oh, okay. I thought that was a little like I was like, oh, I thought we were kind of keeping to, Hispanic end game people. Not like, hey, here's this
Well,
random white dude.
he
End
is
game.
Hispanic.
Yeah, but Lance means middle to late in the spectrum, not this white flavor Hispanic.
Not like him.
He said, "Don't whitewash my Hispanic movie." Oh my God, called out. Yeah, Lance, stick up for your people.
I know. You should have been happy. You had representation.
Uh,
The half he said, if he was, then I'm happy. Yay! Thanks for having one of us white / Hispanics in there. Thank you. I appreciate you.
Well, technically, all of us are half white, so there's that. Maybe
yep.
that's why I sound like a white girl. Oh my God. But anyway, so yeah, and mind you, everyone, this is the last of all of the segments because the wraparound story is basically about them finding Pedro chained up in a house that's been with all these people being slaughtered. And there are these two cops, Greg Grunberg being one of them from Felicity.
And
And I
here,
know, oh, I guess Heroes. Yeah, well, I remember him from Felicity. Oh yeah, and Hollow Man. Remember Hollow Man? That was a
yeah.
good one. And Sonia Eddy, who's the other detective, they are questioning. Well, I guess his name is Efren Ramirez, but I just know him as Pedro from uh,
Who's that?
Napoleon Dynamite.
Oh, is that him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
He's
really
also
handsome.
he's actually
He,
also in the movie with Jason Statham, the one where he has to be on speed the whole time.
Crank? No,
Crank, yes.
that's
oh yeah, he's in
No,
Crank.
that was him. He was
oh,
in Crank.
I thought
I see his
whatever.
thing. Yeah, he was in Crank. He was also in Employee of the Month. Kazam, Tammy and the T-Rex, apparently. Jesus, what's wrong with us? He was the pizza
How
boy in
old
Tammy
is he?
the T-Rex.
Jeez.
I'm looking now, and he was born in 1973, so he's a little older than Lance.
Oh,
What's funny about that
Yeah.
too is like he seems like that the Hispanic indie guy, like the guy who's like just way too cool for everything. Like I
I
kind of
mean,
like him that way.
yeah, he's pretty hot now. I wouldn't say that he was hot as Pedro, but I think that was the point that because
yeah.
nobody was hot in
He
that
was
movie.
nerdy.
So. Okay, so we're dealing with the Traveler and San La Muerte, and that is the wraparound story here. And so we have Efren Ramirez playing the Traveler, and he's being questioned because he's the only survivor of a house full of Hispanic people who have been brutally murdered, and it's including men, women, and children. And all of the directors are kind of peppered in there as cameos, so I believe that those are mostly their cameos. I know Mike Mendez shows up in one of the shorts, I think. Yeah, he shows up in the Hammer of Zanzibar um as Gus in the in that short. But anyway, so when we see that we kind of assume either there's like cartel playings happening here. All of these people assumed that they were being trafficked into the country, or not trafficked, but snuck into the country. So it's like a whole thing. And well, they don't know why all those people were killed,
Yeah, I was just trying to
right?
figure out what the proper term was. It's smuggled?
Smuggled.
Coyotes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they got them into the country illegally, and the traveler was among them.
Yeah.
But we find out at the end why they're all killed. So, we figure it
Mm.
out because the traveler is with them. It's his fault. So,
So wait, that
but
makes sense though, because if how did he get rid of the main, I guess, would you say the demon or Satan, or underneath Satan, I guess, because the way they were describing it earlier, it's not quite Satan, but it's like a little under that, or maybe that's the hammer one. But like he's chained, so like he couldn't get away. So why was he the only one? I mean, obviously he can't die. So they just it was a gang thing, and they got all killed because the
oh,
guy
that's true.
Well,
because
I don't know exactly. I've listened because what's her name? Santa Muerte? Is that who that was at the end?
On the muerte.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she is a really big symbol in Mexico, especially for the cartel. And so I think it has something to do with her and it being kind of cartel related ish. Uh, like like when it comes to like a lot of the cartel, don't come for me, I'm one of y'all. I'm sure one of my family members is involved somehow. But they actually have like the tattoos and they have like the statues and all that stuff. So like I think there's just some
correlation.
Santeria going on where it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah. 'Cause I mean, if he can't die, I mean, I guess technically he wouldn't have like been like able to be killed if like they
They
came in there and
slaughtered.
if they slaughtered everybody. But it doesn't make any sense why he was chained to the other dude in the chair outside, unless somebody just didn't want to like let him go somewhere, or he didn't pay or something. Like I don't know.
I mean, sometimes that's like a gang thing, like tying people together so you can't run far. Like, I don't
Right?
know. That's just
They were the only ones.
maybe I just know too much about this. I'm just gonna be quiet.
Well, I mean, regardless, it would stand to reason. I mean, that San Muerte could have been involved in what happened with these people, or maybe they were all slaughtered, and that's how because you could shoot him and he can't die. So essentially, the traveler is hundreds and hundreds of years old, and we learn who he is because he says, "What is he was he wasn't Mayan, but he was something."
Well, he made a deal with them to like something about his daughter and his wife,
Well, yeah,
and
because he was part of one of those, one of the Mexican well, they're not tribes. What are they called?
Like a native Mexican, there's
yeah.
Aztecs. I'm gonna try to pronounce some of these.
I,
Mayo, Purepecha, Zapotec, Huastec, Mixe, Olmec, Huizols, Amuzgos, Totonac, Mixtec, and Cora.
Mm.
I'm sure
I
there's
think it
more.
was the one that began with an N. I don't know because he was saying that he could speak the language. So apparently he lived back then, and his wife and daughter were supposed to be sacrificed to the gods, and so he made a deal with them to take their place. But then he ended up escaping, and I suppose this kind of like cursed him in a way, and now San Muerte is trying to kill him, but he cannot die. So as long as he stays ahead of San Muerte, then he can get away. And
Mm.
so he tells the cops that they have 90 minutes, and after 90 minutes, everyone's going to die. And he wasn't lying. Because, so the whole time, so the rest of these stories are all stories that he's telling to the cops. And so the first one being También lo vi, so I guess we can get into that one because we're coming up on the end of the hour. Um, so that one is about Gustavo, who is a mental prodigy, and he lives in his grandmother's old house. He has this like weird thing going on in the house that only he can show people by like
Flashing lights.
and he ends up
So
inviting this thing into to his life. The thing is his OCD triggers some sort of like ritual in the house, but you don't know until the end of the story. Um, but it's fucking scary.
Yeah.
Like it is
yeah.
scary. That one scared me. I'm
It's
not gonna lie, it was
also,
pretty gross.
well, he's one of the scariest horror directors out there based off the two movies I remember from him. But it's also like super smart because before my medication, I did start having OCD symptoms, and it's a real struggle when you have, even though it looks like something that can't possibly be true as an audience member, like when you're used to patterns and your brain's like a skipped record that keeps repeating and you have to do it again. Like I started getting those symptoms when my depression was getting really bad. And so it gives me anxiety to see it because it like you have to do it. And it's so weird. And so like it's a really smart way of being like, well, guess what? Your little patterns have triggered something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, because that and the colors and the way the mirrors were like reflecting off it, it was like all one working thing, which I thought was really a great way. I thought it was enjoyable to watch like I guess it was like the delivery guy or pizza delivery guy or whatever when he's sitting there and it's like he's just grabbing anybody. Can you see it? The guy's like sitting there like, nope.
No, no, I don't see it. And then he asked him where the bathroom is.
I just like I thought that was like but like you were saying earlier, it had the right kind of humor, a little bit of it like sprinkled in, but what was scary was still scary because like when it changed when that other guy came by, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
you're thinking you're gonna get another funny moment, and it's like it's not, and like it pursues from that point. So it's pretty cool how he was able to like not even I wouldn't say a slow burn, but like proper going into what you it becomes. Oh my gosh, this is kind of freaky.
He's building tension,
Yeah.
and you can really like that was the another reason why I thought that the kid doing the Reddit review was a kid because he's like, I didn't really get it. Like a lot of them were confusing. And I'm like, I'm watching it. I'm like, it's not that confusing. I don't
It's not
know. Like
confusing. Like, was his screen name Rushmore FL by any chance?
Whoa.
Just kidding,
I
Lance.
know, but Lance isn't Cuban, so we know it's not him.
Oh,
So
that's true.
so it's that.
It's as big
But
as a Cuban, if you know what I
oh
mean. You know, like the
God, I
sandwiches,
don't need to know that.
the
Anyway,
lettuce sticking out. But great film.
I love how it was like no, I mean, would you say like you think out of the five? I mean, outside of the continue story, you know, with the traveler, which one is your favorite?
oh, that's a good question. Um,
Um,
Go ahead, Mikey. You go first because I have to think about it.
I think the Argentinian, the OCD summoning thing, um, is my favorite, and then it would have to be what's her name? Gigi.
Gigi Saul Guerrero, yeah.
Yeah, hers. I can't remember what it was called. Uh,
No Wallace.
yeah. Well, you know what? Actually, special shout out to whoever designed and executed uh Santa Muerte at the end because she was really cool. I'm kind of mad that she's on the poster because she's just cool. And I was like, oh, well, I know what she looks like because she's on the poster. But like, if she wasn't and she showed up, I'd been like, I really dig the way she looks. She's actually creepy and it just looks good.
Honestly,
Wait,
the thing before that, before the thing gets blasted off, I mean, I thought that was
The mask.
yeah, the mask by itself, honestly,
Hmm.
like that could be like a ongoing character.
what did the cop call him, Hoss? So, and
Uh,
by the way, that is the most violent part of the film. Besides Nawala's, it was very violent
Yeah.
and very dark, and there's really no reprieve. Like, so Gigi's segment is probably the most vicious, but at the end, that scene, where everyone's shooting each other, oh my God, like
Yeah.
it is brutal, incredibly brutal, and like it doesn't relent. So and we learn throughout the film that with the traveler and the cops that they have this bullet. I forget what it's called.
the gun that randomly happens to be at this exact place, by the way.
Yeah, well, they found it in an evidence locker. They're close to Mexico, so stands to reason they
Yeah,
have it.
Lance. My goodness.
It's like she's like, "Oh, I know what that gun looks like."
Yeah, and it's something that's a saint killer. I forget what the name is in Spanish or what they were saying it was called, but it basically you can kill a saint with it because the San de Muerte is the saint of death.
Yeah, I
And
think I saw that in
so,
Supernatural.
Oh,
thank
God.
you, Lance.
Oh, of course.
What?
Supernatural.
I'm just
Hmm.
saying, it was literally a storyline in
So
Supernatural.
we're very highbrow here on Slashers podcast.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure they made Who Santa Muerte is up. So sorry to the creators of Supernatural.
That part, not the other part. the gun and the bullet can only kill one person, you know.
Well, whatever. I can't really kill the Son of Muerte as we find out because when he gets away at the end, he knows it can only like slow him down or her down.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Pedro uses it to get the to kill the traveler uses it to kill or to at least maim the San Muerte so he can escape. And Greg Grunberg and the other cop do survive, so that's good because I'm glad that like not everybody died this heinous death because it was so bad.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that the actors did such a great job at evoking emotion in their face, knowing that they don't have control of what they're doing, but they know what's happening to them. And it's like so brutal and just like, oh my God. And it's just so quick. So that's why I feel like the pacing of this film just feels so much better than so many other anthologies because you don't feel the breath, like you don't feel the longevity of it. You feel, you're just with the pacing of the entire movie and it moves rather quickly. And so kudos to them because I
Right.
think I think that's where anthologies fall short in the my only opinion with anthologies because sometimes some of them drag and they're not that good. So it's like fuck.
Yeah.
Um but anyway, so I think that's it, right? So Mikey, those were your two that you
Hmm.
picked. Okay. Yeah, I agree with Mikey. I think those are my two favorite. I love Tempe and Lovey. It was so good. Now, a vampire, I will give it a honorable mention simply because I loved the ending. It was so poetic. How they both ended up in the dumpster together and they died together. So I thought that was sweet. It is funny, but it's so typical of a man to put himself in such a precarious situation and like his wife has to get
Hmm.
him out of it, right?
Hmm.
And and like and
I'm
the reason
your
he's in this
master.
situation is because he never learned how to drive. Like he refused to learn how to drive.
I thought it was
Uh,
funny when then he did that, like I'm your lord and master. I tell you, she's like, really?
mhm.
Oh, is that where we're going with that? Which I just liked it because it was like a vampire thing, but like then it had like a realistic kind of couple thing. I guess that was what I kind of enjoyed about it was it was like him saying something stupid, putting himself in a bad position, her kind of like like this motherfucker. Like, are you kidding me? Like, what are you doing? You're gonna get us both killed. You know what I mean? Because you couldn't learn to drive, like you were saying. I like the commonality of it, and then putting it in a weird thing where it's Halloween. I can get away because no one will ever think it's me. Especially the part where like the cops were thinking that it was a fake death. So I thought that was funny, but as an all around, like if you're going by the horror, I think Mikey's selections and your selections were like gonna be the top tiers, obviously, but
Mhm.
I just enjoyed it because it was a little bit. I mean, I think I enjoyed all of them really, but like if I had to pick which ones were the more creepier ones, you know.
Yeah, I agree. I think all around, I think this was a great, to me, I enjoyed this anthology. I'm glad I finally watched it. I'm really glad that Gigi's segment was probably one of the more brutal ones because it just shows you that a woman can navigate her way around horror, especially an Hispanic woman, and a woman that knows what she's talking about, which I do adore because I love her comments on all of the horror documentaries that she's on. She always commands my attention. She's very articulate, and I just feel like she just knows so much, and like this is why she can do this, and I'm just so glad that we have her. And she's young, so we'll do a bigger spotlight more on her history. But for only being 33 and what she's been able to accomplish thus far, I think is just amazing. So we can't wait to see what you have in store. But the rest of the month we're going to be showcasing different films, I think, of hers, right, Mikey? So
Hmm.
she's done several and she's done other shorts as well. So we'll look at different ones as we go through. And if you guys want to let us know which ones you've enjoyed from her or what segments you've enjoyed her talking about on different horror documentaries, let us know. Send us an email or just drop us a DM on Slasher's podcast. So, anyways, so with that, that is a wrap on this week's episode. Yay.
Hooray.
So if you want to see our beautiful faces while we ramble and figure out what Lance's word of the week is, check out our video cast over at youtube.com/slasherspodcast. Plus, don't miss our bi-monthly deep dives into all things horror nerdy at the comic shop. only on YouTube, a hot collab of Slashers podcast and Joe from Much Ado About Nerding. Sorry, Joe, we didn't mean to throw you in the bus this week. Actually, we kind of did. But anyway, exclusive content or just can't get enough of us? Join us on Patreon for monthly exclusive reviews, bonus episodes, and some killer new perks. Head over to patreon.com/slasherspod and become part of the band. Street Team want to rock some Slasher swag. Our merch is available on Redbubble, where you support loud and proud. slasherspod.redbubble.com. In fact, Mrs. Lowe just got her shirt, so she needs to make a post. Hello.
Hooray, Mrs. Lowe.
I know, I'm dragging all my poor coworkers into this. So if you want to join the conversation, we're hanging out on Instagram at SlashersPod for everything podcast related, or at Mutant Goons from Beyond for all things weird and wonderful. And if you want to yell at us directly, you can find us on social media. You can find me at Pathologically ADE, Mikey at Horror and a Half Shell, and Lance at Zombie VS Hate. And if you can't figure out the devil box known as Instagram, then find us on Facebook and come chill with us at Mutant Goons from Beyond group for all the chaos.
Red.
Yay!
Yeah.
Shout out to our B-Movie TV family. Catch Doug on Friday Night Action and Yahira on Saturday Night Terrors only on Roku. A big thanks to our amazing Patreon patrons. Josh Gunn, Dinosaurs Will Always Be Awesome, my mom Lorene, Kevin Leamy, Vlad Luis, Leslie Thurman, and Cam. If you want to join them, head on over to patreon.com/slasherspod and become part of the horror family. And maybe Lance will fuck up your name next.
Ooh.
As always, thanks for listening, and remember to stay spooky. Goodbye and good day.
Goodbye.
Die.
Bye.